Hey everybody, how are you? Christina here. I know that a lot of you are not going to be here right now because you guys are all over at the release for La La Land Crafts Club for today. I will be doing mine later. But for right now, I am going to color my little reindeer with you guys. So, hey Tracy, how are you, sweetheart? At least somebody's in here with me. Hopefully my camera won't do what it did yet the last time on, what was it, Sunday? I'm starting to lose track of my days. So we're gonna go ahead and color this little dude today. He's so cute, and all the links and the colors and everything like that are up in the description for you. Looks like my camera might be a little funky today. Let me go ahead and check the settings a little bit. There we go. Hopefully it's not too. Hey Angela, honey, how are you, sweetheart? So, oh good. I'm glad you think he's cute, Tracy. I love him. I love Aurora Wings stuff. My daughter has actually, I don't know where hers are. My desk is actually to where someone can sit across from me. And so she sits across from me a lot of the time and will color. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this little guy. And I'm going to start out with my skin tones. So his face is a little bit different than a La La Land Crafts, but I do still use the same colors. I use the E000, 00, E11, E21, E04, and then the R20 and the R30. So I start out with his. He doesn't, as you can see, he doesn't have like huge cheeks or anything like that, but I do still like to draw some of them in. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with my E11, and I'm just going to go across his hairline. And it's so funny, I was actually looking at the image when I was saving. I took the picture of this one over here, and I went ahead and I looked at the other one that I had done, gosh, I want to say like 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, whenever he was released, because I've been on the Aurora Wings team for probably 5 years. And when I was looking at how I had colored him the first time, it was just like a huge drastic change. So I'm getting on these ones, I'm getting inside the ear, just because, you know, inside the ear it's a little bit darker. And then I'm going to go ahead and get just the top of his ear, and I'm going to have the light coming from this way. So he's going to have some shading underneath his neck and along his little bow here. On these images, I do tend to go up a little bit and give them a little bit of a bridge of a nose and then kind of come around. And right here, there's like a little, I don't know if you guys, hopefully you guys can see that little black line. But his little cheek is kind of going up. So I'm just going to put some shadow right here where his hand or hoof, whatever you want to call it, is covering. And then I'm going to get down here with his jawline. And he'll have a little bit of a cheek here. But then his face will just kind of come out a little bit, and we'll connect it right off to the side here. And you can pull it out, the shading from his hairline a little bit, since we have the sun coming this way. That means he won't have quite as much color in the back. So that'll connect, put a little bit of color on his ear, and that'll connect his face with his cheek. So his face is the only thing that we have that is hair. Or that is hair, that is skin, not hair. Let's see, I've been trying not to get hooked on others because I really like the LLC, and I always feel the need to want everything product that they have. But you did like the cardinal and him. Oh, she has some really, I know how you feel, Tracy, because I have I have cat's pajamas, and then I have these, and I really don't do a whole lot more than that. Basically, because I mean, when I've been on a team for so long, you kind of become friends with the owner of the stamp company, and so I don't know, I feel like that's where my loyalty lies. So there are some really cute stamps out there, but I definitely have my favorites. That's no lie. So I am pulling out the EO4 just a little bit to make the hair, because his hair is kind of, if you can see here, he has a few little flippies, and so if you bring the EO4 just down slightly and just make it really thin, then it'll look like a shadow of one of his little hair flips. So now I'm going to go down to back to E11, not down 2, but back 2. And I'm going to pull that out a little bit more. And I'm just doing it really super light. Just bringing that shadow out. And I have a little bit on the top of his ear, inside of his ear, and then along his jawline and on the back of his neck. So now we're going to move on to E21. And I'm just going to pull that E11 out. I'm going to go all the way out to his eye right there. Bring this all the way down to his chin. Hey, Christine, how are you, honey? So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out a little bit more. Go ahead and pull this in a bit. Get his little cheek. I'm going to get his nose just slightly. And then I'm going to get part of his ear. Get the inside of his wee little ear. And then I'm actually going to finish off his neck because his neck's really hidden by his head. Oh, that's okay. You are more than fine to be late. There's no time limit. You know that, honey. So now I'm going to use the R20. And why are you happy that I'm coloring him, Christine? Everybody seems to love him. I'm happy. That makes me really happy. And I'm going to go up around by his ear a bit. I'm just going to pull this out because that just kind of connects it. And then I'm going to get his little cheek, but I'm only dotting right here because I don't want it to go completely out. I want it to still look like his little cheek. And now my R30, hopefully it will behave. I need to refill it, but can you believe it? I don't have a refill, so I'm waiting for it to come and praying to God it doesn't get gunky before that. And then just a little bit there. Now we're gonna go for the E00. She has a lot of great images, doesn't she, Christine? I love the ones with the flowers because she has all the sprites. So I'm just pulling this out some more, filling in top of his forehead and right here by his little eye. And I'm actually gonna just blend his cheek, help that R30 along so it's not a stubborn pill. And go out past his face. And since he is a little bit darker, I'm not leaving a whole lot for the E00. Or E000, I'm sorry, I was just using the E double. So just filling in this little part right here. I'm going to smooth out my lines a little bit. Finish out his ear. And now I'm going to let it dry. And then I'll go back in a minute and do the E21 and E00 again after he dries. You have no sound? Does no one else have any sound? Let me know who has sound and who doesn't. Let me see. Hang on, let me check my settings. It says the sound is on. Is that better, Christine? Check your volume too, sweetheart. I'm gonna die laughing if it's your volume and not mine. So now I'm gonna go ahead and use E42, E43, E41, and E44 for all the parts of his little suit. Okay? Because I'm going to let his little skin dry for a minute. So E41, 42, 43, and 44. So I'm going to start out with E43 because that's my second darkest color. And I'm just going to go right. Do you have sound, Tracy? Let me know if you have sound. Christine said she can't hear me. So I'm going to go around his little mouth. But I'm not going to go all the way. But I am going to go at his ears. Oh, good. I'm glad you have sound. So, Christine, turn your sound up, woman. So I'm going to go around the back side of his head. And I'm just doing the shading right now. And I'm getting the very tips of his ears. And then I'm going to go to the inside of his ear. That way it'll bring these two parts forward a bit. And we'll do some more with that with the E44 as well to really bring that forward to make it stand out. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over here for that ear. Then he needs a little bit on his little muzzle. So just right in the creases of his nose and where his little mouth opens. Now I'm done with doing his head for the most part, except for his eye. His eye, I'm just going to do kind of like, it makes me think of like, deer's eyes just make me think of like they have Cleopatra makeup on. So I'm just going to go around his eye like that. Do tomorrow, print him out and do him tomorrow. Oh, you're very welcome, sweetheart. I'm sorry that you didn't have any sound, honey. Nobody wants to see me on a big screen anyways. Small screen is much better. So now I'm just going in right where all the shading is. I'm not going, because he has this extra patch of furry hair right here. So I'm just going to go underneath the bow part. I'm not going to go on the hair, just the part that would be smooth. And then I'm going to go into all his little creasy lines. And then he's going to have shadow above his knee. And he will have some on the back of his arm. And I'm not butting this all the way up to the edge because he will have, kind of like a cylinder, he will have a little bit of light coming around, not much. And then his leg right here. So his leg, actually, there's this foot, part of his foot, and then there's the top part of his hoof. So this part is his leg. Okay, and then he's got his hoof right here too. And we're going to put some shading right there around his foot. And then we need to get his wee tail. I only do the top part. The bottom part I do the same color as the hair that's right here. So I'm going to put a little bit of shading here and some here. Get these right there and get the bottom, because you know he's going to have shading at the bottom where he's sitting down. And you want to get the lines for here. And then you'll have a little bit extra. And remember, this is his hoof right here, this last bit here. So we just want to go around the edge of his hoof. And then we can bring that in a little bit. He'll also have a little bit of shading here. There we go. So who has their Christmas cards made? Does anybody already have all their stuff made? So now I'm going to go to E42. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this E43 out. E43 can sometimes be a little stubborn, so if it's being stubborn on you, push it in, you know, color some and then push it in. So I'm going to pull that out. Pull it out just a little bit in his ear, not all the way, not as much as the rest of it. And then we're going to get his mouth or his little muzzle. Get down here. There we go. And we're just going to pull this out. And we're not pulling it out real far because most of this is going to be E41. I am going to go around his eye though. Okay. Here we go. Meadow, let me see yours really fast. So Meadow's in here coloring with me too, and I just want to show you her cute little, she has this little one that she's doing, this little elf, if you're interested in more of these images with the, you know, Christmas theme. And then she has this little one that she's coloring right now. Super cute little cherry blossom. Sorry, I had to show you because I just looked over at her while she's coloring across from me and it's so cute. So, plus it gives you a chance to catch up with me if you're coloring right now. So I'm going to color all that part in. I'm going to leave a little bit of space right here, but I am going to move up on his arm a little bit more. And then I'm pulling this down. There we we go, and I'm just pulling those lines out. Most of them I'm going right over the top of them just to blend them and to soften them up a little bit, because we're going to be going back over with E44 anyways for the shadows and such. Oh, good. I'm sorry you have to go back to work, but I hope you color him tonight. I can't wait to see. You're going to have to show me, Tracy. Definitely going to show me. I hope you have a good rest of your day at work, though. So I'm going to go ahead, and I forgot his shadow right here, so I'm just going to put that in really fast. There we go. Now I'm going to use E41, and I'm going to put the E41, I'm going to actually drag that into the E42 and into the E43. I'm not going to pull it out, I'm actually going to push it in for blending. So there we go. Finishing out his ear, because we're going to be doing another layer on here anyways, so don't worry about it being too light or that you got too much lightness. We're going to go back. We should be like, or I should like form the club of the heavy-handed Copic colorers. So we're going to color all this in. And I'm flicking a little bit, but not a whole heck of a lot. I'm just kind of filling in that color, because he's still gonna be super cute once we get that texture on him. So just getting all that filled in. The end of his tail. And we gotta be sure to get the top of his little hand here. There we go. He is coming together. So now I'm going to use E44. And the E44 is going to be all of our contrast, all the dark areas. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put it right here in his arm. And I'm going to put it just a little bit of shading right here. I'm just going to pull this out, and he's going to have some very thin shading here and under his elbow, and he'll have some towards the back of him and on the back of his tail. And I'm not going to blend this out a whole heck of a lot like I normally do. I'm just going to leave, most of it I'm just going to leave as like just cast shadows. But I will be blending it out just slightly. Not much though. So right here I'm not going to put any, but I am going to put some right here in this crease that Mitzi drew. And right on the outer side of his, or the inside of his leg, but it's on the outside of his belly lines. And then go ahead and pull these lines down. Pull these ones up. And I'm going just to the right side of these little fat ripple lines. And we're going to get under his face right here, and we'll get around the bell, and we're going to go underneath his little arm, and we'll go right here, just like a little L. So now we need to go up a little bit on his hat and make like a little curvy L here. Because we know our shadows are not straight on things that are round. And we're gonna get a side of his nose in the middle little crease, just like we did the E43 a little bit. And then we're gonna come up just slightly here, and we're gonna go all the way around his muzzle and come down. Okay, then we want to get his ears, and those are going to be slightly curved, and we're going to get the inside of his ear to really make that pop. And I just put too much right there, but that's okay, I will fix it. There we go. Oh, and I forgot underneath his little bow line here. So now I'm going to go ahead and go with E43 again. And I'm just pulling these colors out slightly. Just smoothing it out. There we go. And make sure you get underneath right here because he's sitting on his behind, so there's going to be shadow there. We're going to get right here underneath his arm, above his arm. And we're just blending everything out a little bit. So go ahead and pull that up a little bit. And this is also where you can decide how much you want to pull it out and how dark you want him and what you want yours to look like. Okay, so almost done with his head. And I'm going to turn him around for this one so that I can get this. I don't know about you guys, but I do like half circles and stuff like that a lot better upside down. Like his ears here, I do that a lot better if I do it upside down than the other way. Okay, so I'm going to skip. No, I'm not going to skip. I'm going to go ahead and do just, nope, that's E43. I'm going to do a little bit of E42. Just right up in here. And on his ear. Just, I think I'm just going to do this on his head. I'll have to look in a second, but here we go. Okay. Just a little bit in the shadows to bring those shadows out some more. I'm not going to do it the rest of the part, just where the shadows are at. Okay, now I'm going to go back to E41 and I'm going to blend it out or blend it in. There we go. He is coming together. Almost done. Look at that. Holy mac and cheese. You wouldn't believe he was so easy to do, unless I'm using up a lot more time than I think I am. So just blending this, making it look nice and smooth. Okay, so now we have our texturing, which is the little dots. Okay, so I'm going to start out with my E44. And I'm going to make very small, just random loose dots. They're not going to be super, super tight. Okay, and I'm just going to put a few on his muzzle. And it is amazing what happens when you put the texture on. And I'm going to put some on the back of his head. I'm going to go for it on his ears. Okay. And we've got some going on here underneath his arm. And we're going to go around the collar here and on the back side of his arm. And we're going to get some on his hand here and on his leg and his tail. So just getting some just kind of randomly, just kind of everywhere. Helps him to look fuzzy, gives him a little bit of texture. Much more fun and not quite, you know, just gives him a little something. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with E43, but I'm going to make the dots just a little bit bigger. Not much, just a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'm not going inside of his ear, I'm just going on the outside of his ear. These dots actually make me think of like the little, what is it? It's a doe, not a doe. A doe is a girl, but the babies, they have those little white spots. I cannot think today. The new medication my doctor has me on, I'm just so completely brain fogged. There we go. You're late to club. Aw! You're fine, sweetheart. I knew everybody would be watching the club reveal. That's not a big deal at all. Now I know who you love more. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I know you still love me too. Here we go. So now I'm going to go to E42. How have you been, Stephanie? I don't think I've seen you on a live for, what, since Sunday? So, and here I was just talking about having a brain fog. And I'm just getting the dots out a little bit further. I'm giving this one a little bit more dots than I did the last one. I guess I'm being a little bit generous, but there he is. He is done for that part only. So now I'm going to let him sit there for a second. I want to do his bell. I love his little bell. And a lot of people are like, why don't you just use, because like most people will use the Y26 and the Y28 for gold. Hey Nicole, honey, just in time. I'm getting ready to do his bell and his bow. So Y28 is basically gold. I mean, that's the name of the color. And Y26 is a mustard color. But this gold, with these colors, it just makes it a little bit more bright and vibrant. Hey, Jacqueline. See, now everybody's showing up after the club release is all done. How funny. So this one, I'm actually going to be putting the Y13 down first because it's super bright and it'll actually change the color of the other two. So I'm putting that down first because I want it to change the color. Yeah, I use those ones too sometimes. So now I've got YR13, and that's going to be my darkest. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down just on the bottom and on the back side of the bell. And then I'm going to go with Y21, and I am just completely covering up that Y13 because that's what gives it kind of like a little bit of a glow. So I completely just covered that up. And I'm going to go with the Y23 again, just in the back. There we go. That's all I want. And my bell is done. So now I'm going to go for my bow now that Miss Nicole is here. My coloring on the new release was what new release, honey? I forget what. I've been doing so many new releases, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. How sad is that? Okay, so his bow I'm going to use, it's going to be a little bit different than my normal, but it's R59, R29, R14, and R17. Oh, you're talking about the club, the paper thing, aren't you? The paper thing you get in the mail with your kit, huh? I did the last one too. The last one was my coloring as well. Oh, yep, here. You guys will get to see them later, but there's a little sneak peek for you guys of my stuff. That was my card. And then here's this one. Hey, Lita, how are you, honey? So I'm going to start out with the R29 on the bow. And I'm just going to go in where these little creases are. And I'm going to go along right here because this part right here is actually standing more forward than this part. Did she really? She's so sweet. I'm going to have to go back and watch that. Poor girl broke her finger saving her dog. So I had to step in and help. So let's see. And we're going to get behind his ear here. And then this part right here is just the inside where, you know, the bow loops. But you're always going to have that dark part. So we're going to put white there because of this part. And then you're going to have the shadow from this part looping over to the bottom. Was she seriously? Oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to have to go and talk. Or go watch that. She knew I wouldn't be there too. She knew I was in here. So go ahead and get the corners there. Get behind his arm. Now, right here, you can see where it kind of bows, like it curves in here, and it curves in here, and it curves in right here. So I'm just gonna put a little line right here. And I mean, it's little. I mean, it looks like I'm going over it a lot, but it's just, I'm just barely touching. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, just a little bit, but I'm going to round it so that it looks like the bow is like, you know, like you're squishing the bow. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm just, there we go. Okay, and then there's like a little piece right here by his hair that you can tell it's going around the back of his neck. So I'm just getting that little bit right there. So now I'm going to use R17. I'm going to pull that R29 out. And this is where you can decide how bright and bold you want. So like this one, I didn't pull the R17 out a whole lot, and most of this is the R14 to make it really bright. So it's gonna really depend on how bright you want your bow. So I am going to finish off that part right there. I'm going to pull this out, and I'm basically just going over the R29 a little. There we go. And just pulling those lines out. And this one I'm actually going to pull up a little bit to make it look all fluffy. Sorry, I keep turning this around, but I do my half circles and stuff much better if I pull rather than push. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part, and I'm just tapering this out towards the corner, but making it come out more in the center. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit back there, but I'm leaving quite a bit of that open because I want it to actually be a little bit bright. So now I'm going to use R14, and I'm going to finish this off. And I'm going to do a little bit going this way, and then I'll do a little bit going the other way as well. And I'm going to finish around his neck. Turn him around and pull the color the other way. That way it kind of evens out. Hey Janice, how are you, sweetheart? How are you doing? Here we go. So there is the main part of the bow. Now I'm going to go in with my R59, and I'm going to get all that dark contrasting. So I'm actually going to go and I'm going to put a line right here at the top of his shoulder and right into the bow line right here. And I'm going to pull this out a little. Now right here I'm kind of closing that V, making it a little darker. I'm going to get in by his hairline, by his little ear. And then I'm also going to get right there. And I want this part to come forward more. So on the left side, or the right side of the bow, I'm just going to go straight down and put that cast shadow in there. And then I'm going to do a little bit here and go in a little and just slightly in right here and slightly in right there. And most of this is just super thin or dotting, okay? If you're nervous about doing the flicking really thin, just test on your paper and just dot. It'll be so much easier for you. And there's his bow. How's his bow? Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Nicole. Don't you hate it when you have to sneeze and you really just don't want to? So now I'm going to do his antlers. His little antlers are going to be E40, W2, and W3. So we're going to start out with the W2 because the W3 is just going to be more texturizing. So if the sun is coming this way, we want the shaded part to be over here. Good, I'm glad. So, and we're going to put the shading on the bottom, and we'll put shading right there. And then we will put some here, put some on the bottom, and on this side right here. I left his antlers fairly light in color. Now I'm just coloring this in with my E40. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and do, this is like basically how we did the E44 on the rest of him, but we're just going to go ahead and do W3, kind of give him just some far away little texture, because you know how like their new little horns are always fuzzy. And then I'm going to do, ooh, here comes that sneeze again. I can feel it coming. So if I do sneeze, I apologize, you guys. So there's W2. And his horns are done. So his little feet, his little hooves, are going to be W5, this is W7. I have the chow marker for the W7. I haven't switched it over yet. And a W3, although I'll probably be switching that over this week because, yeah, somehow I think my Copic C5 ran off with the spoon or something because it is nowhere to be found. So might as well make it worth my shipping to just order that one too, I guess. So I'm just going around his foot, and I'm trying not to go up all the way up to the edge, except for like right here on his hooves, right on the tops. This one I got a little bit close, but that's okay, it'll all work out. This one is going to go right up, and then right here. And that was the W5. I don't know if I said W5. Now I'm using my W3. And the W3, I'm just going to finish it out. I'm not using a whole lot of marker here because I'm going to be going over it again. Just kind of setting the tone of where I want stuff. Here we go. It's usually his skin that, or the deer suit skin that really takes the most time. Once you get that done, it's like everything else goes super fast. So go ahead and get those hooves in. Now I'm going to go to the the W7. This is the 7. Now this one, I'm going to try and be really super careful. And I'm just going to put a thin line there. And like a little bit around the bottom side. And a little on the sides. That's all I'm going to do. This is just the contrast color. And I'm just like so right there. And then we're going to put some at the bottom of this one, but not at the top. The top isn't going to have as much of a cast shadow, really. So, and I'm going to go back to the W5. I'm going to just pull that out. Pull up a little bit. Pull that out. And you're probably wondering why I don't start with the darkest first. And I kind of go over it with my next darkest, and that's just because I don't want to get a little bit too overzealous like I did the first time with the W5 for his hoof. So it's more of like a blueprint. So now I'm just gonna go in And I'm not even going in all the way. I'm leaving because you know if you go over a color twice, it'll actually darken that color. And I don't want to completely do that on the outsides of his hooves. If you've ever seen a deer or a horse, the underside and stuff is a little bit darker than the actual edge. There we go. So there are his wee little feet. Okay, and then I'm looking at my colors going, what am I missing? And that would be a little bit of E31 and Y21 right on his hairy little chest and on his wee little tail. And I'm just putting some light flicks. I'm not even going to color all this in because I want it to look kind of blondish white. And a little bit of 21, and I'm just pulling that out. And I'm serious, I'm not filling in the white at all. Meadow, can you open that window for me, honey? See if it'll let some more. I think the sun has passed us. There we go. So there's the, if you can, hopefully I'm on camera. I'm a little bit behind, so let's see. Now I've got E18, E15. Why do I feel like I'm missing a color? Let me look at this really fast. I feel like I'm missing a color for his hair. Oh, the 21. That's what I'm missing for his hair. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. So his hair is going to be kind of like a reddish brown, like a little autumn color. So we're going to use E15, 18, and 21. We're going to use the 21 the same way that I did the bell. And I'm just going to fill in because this little bit of hair, now I have him printed out at 3.5 inches. So he's not super huge. So that little bit of hair is really, really light. And when that happens, it's easier to go with the lightest first sometimes. So then he has some little wisps of hair. So I'm going to fill those in really fast with my E18. I'm just going to get the dark parts of his hair here. Just kind of get those really thin flicks in there. See, I got to turn him around so I can get those thin flicks coming up from the bottom. That way we can get that shine where we need it to be. There we go. Hey, Amador! I was just talking about you to the kids the other day. I'm so happy to see you. So, let's see, I'm going to fill this in a little bit. And I'm just randomly flicking. There we go. I'm going to make some more little wisps. So he's got little wispies going on here. There we go. Okay, so now for his eyes and his nose, and then we just have to, I'm going to do his face a little bit more now that it's dried. But I'm going to do his nose and his eye first. I'm not using that one. So I'm going to use E35, 33, and 37 for that. So I'm going to go with my 37 first. And I'm just going to get that part of his eyelid. And then I'm going to go just over the top of his eye. And then a little bit around. That way his eye looks rounded. And then I'm going to also get right here. Don't worry about the little dots in his eyes or on his nose because we'll get those later. And now I'm going to use my E35. I'm going to finish this part here, and I'm actually going to brighten that up a little bit because I don't like how light or how dark it is. There we go. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing with the E33 because that just lightens it up and pushes that dark out. And then I can go back in for that contrast on the eye. There we go. So I know it looks a little crazy right now and it's not all that super fantastic, but I'm actually going to go back with my E43 and just do that Cleopatra eyeliner again. But this time I'm being a little bit slower and a little bit more careful so that I don't drag that E37 and stuff out. Drag out those darker colors. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my E21 on his face. And don't worry, I'm going to fix the rest of him when we go to the white gel pen. But I'm just going to go in his face a little bit. Get more of that shaping out. Okay, get the top of his ear. And the side and bottom, maybe a little bit inside of his ear again. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to use my E00 and just pull that out a little bit so he has a little bit more shading on the side where he has no sun. There we go. Blend that out, soften it up a bit. Especially on that wee nose, I kind of got a little bit dark there. That's okay. And now I'm just going to cover his whole little face. There we go. So we got all that done. I did do his nose a little bit lighter on this one, but that's okay. Just don't go over that with the E21 next time. Or when you do yours. Let's see, where's my... Here it is. So I'm going to go with my Uniball. This is just a Uniball gel pen. And this, I'm actually going to dot those white parts back in his nose, back in his eyes, and get a little bit in his actual eye so that he has some shine in there. And that's my big, this one has a really big tip on it, so you don't want to do that for absolutely everything. I have different ones. Thank you, Stephanie. So here's my 08. And I used my 08 on his bow. Okay, and then here, and yes, I'm completely cheating by seeing what I did on this one. And then, let's see, get it on his foot. And of course we got to get it on his bell. Okay. basically anywhere you want it to look shiny is where you're going to want to put the white gel pen. Oh, thank you, Antoinette. Thank you. Let's see. This one doesn't have anything on his ear right here, but I feel like this one needs a little something. I don't know, but I feel like he needs it. And we're going to put a little there, and a little here. And our last little one is going to go right there. Oh, no, I lied. There's one right here too. There we go. So our little guy is all done. So there's both of them together so you can see. Let me move out a, oh, we're getting nothing but dark yellow. Meadow, can you close that? Darn sun, it can't make up its mind whether it wants to come, if it wants to go, what it wants to do. Here we go. Gotta love the evening sun. Gets that real bright yellow, orangish tone to it. So there they are. I hope you guys enjoyed them. And I hope you have a good winter. If I color, I will go ahead and post it in here and post what markers I used and stuff like that. But I won't see you again until January, I think it's either January 5th or January 7th. I can't remember the date. I'm super sorry. But I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful holiday and stay safe and stay well. Okay? I will see you guys next, wow, it sounds weird. I'll see you guys next year. Bye.